So there is a limitless demand for better healthcare, better drugs. So I think the opportunity we have with AI and with technology is that the more we can help the industry to become more efficient, more effective, to move faster, the industry can solve more healthcare issues so that we can lead happier, more fulfilling, productive lives.
Do you have any thoughts on the emergence of AI and large language models within, let's say, the pharmaceutical space especially? How can the regulators stay abreast of what's going on and ensure things are getting regulated correctly?
Yes. No, it's a really interesting question in the life sciences space because of the very nature of what we do. The sort of advantage life sciences has compared to other industries is it's already regulated. So in other words, if you launch a drug to market, that you have to prove that that drug works, what populations it works in, and what are the limitations to that use. And you have to provide evidence to it. So I think when we look at the use of AI, it's really in a support function to getting there, as opposed to, for example, replacing humans or replacing those checks and balances. So there's a lot of talk at the moment about AI-discovered drugs, so looking at drug targets and potential ways of solving those. Super interesting space. Looking at understanding where you've got drug safety cases coming through. So if there's an adverse event, is it something that's meaningful? I think AI will be very prevalent there. Looking at how you can better support people in their day-to-day activities about remaining compliant. But there's already pretty good checks and balances that if you make a claim, that you can support the claim. I think the interesting challenge is actually more for industries that are less regulated and how you use and deliver those technologies. And in particular, where they're dealing with our private information and what they're doing with it. And obviously, there's a lot written around copyright as well. So, ironically, life sciences has a little bit of a head start there because ultimately, you've still always got to prove it.
Yeah. Can I ask you then, Chris, what are you most fearful of in terms of generative AI and agentic AI? Of getting out of control. Is there anything in particular you're not fearful of? That's a bit extreme, but cautious about. Is there anything in particular that you think the regulators really need to keep an eye on?
Yeah, I think data security is super important.
I thought you were going to say that. Yeah.
I think the nature of the data that we manage in life sciences is very personal. It is very, very important. It's also very important that it's kept secure at the stages of drug development, but equally accessible so that you can spot issues or concerns with drugs early and deal with those early. So for me, that's the biggest area. And then making sure that as companies contribute their data or people contribute the data, it is explicit what it's going to be used for, where and how. And if that changes for any reason, there is a mature conversation about that's happening and consent is given.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. So can I ask you in terms of security then very quickly, especially for your customers, what kind of main sort of issues do you, or what advice do you give to your customers in terms of achieving a good security posture with their data?
Yeah, so we're a little bit different in that we work with most of the industry. So it's rare now that there's a life sciences company that doesn't have a bit of our software.
Yeah.
So what we do is we hold that data on their behalf. and we keep it in their secure environment, safe and unique to them. And then where there is industry data, we work directly with them to share anonymized data for the good of the industry, but only with their consent. So I think what we aim to do is keep their data secure and managed. And as we look to innovate with that data in some of the things we've just talked about, Gareth, what we look to do is have that mature, sensible two-way dialogue, so that we're doing it with the industry, for the industry, not to the industry. Gotcha. And so it's a little less about us advising them, and it's more a conversation between us.
Yeah, sure. So Veeva recently announced the end of its 10-year partnership with Salesforce. So what was the rationale behind that decision, and how do you see it shaping the company's future?
It was a natural step for us to go to. So when we were very first formed, and actually the relationship goes back to 2007, Peter Gassner, our founder, used to work with Mark Benioff at Salesforce.
Okay.
And when he left, did a deal with Mark to take the Salesforce platform and to introduce it with industry verticals across a range of industries. And so the first industry he started with was life sciences. And Salesforce had always been designed as being, best in class cross-industry CRM. And it is fantastic CRM. And for that reason, Peter started in the life science industry with Salesforce CRM and built the Veeva application on top of that. Now, incidentally, having started in the life science industry, there was a soon realization from both Peter and Matt that actually here was an industry that didn't have great software and would benefit from an organization taking best-in-class engineering and applying it to the specific challenges. So as they did that, the next step was, as they went from CRM to content, the realization that Salesforce doesn't support content. So whereas in life sciences, you need it to be able to support data, process, and content all in a harmonized platform. So our next applications were all built on our own Vault platform that was designed from day one for life sciences. So roll that forward, we realized that the vast majority of what we call our CRM was actually all Veeva product, and less of it was Salesforce. Whilst at the same time, we, having started in CRM, we'd expanded our Vault platform to cover all the rest of the value chain. So ultimately, it was a decision that we'd reached the end of the road contractually, but also from an innovation point of view on the Salesforce platform. And hence we made the decision to move it to our own purpose-built platform for life sciences.
Yeah.
So it was reverting so that we would unify amongst all of our 50 applications on Vault. Salesforce would return to the fold on that.
Sure.
Or sorry, our CRM would return to the fold on that.
Yeah, of course, yeah. No, that's great. No, brilliant. No, that makes total sense. So I asked you earlier on about what you were most fearful of in terms of the impact of AI on the life sciences space, or cautious about, rather. But what are you most excited about, Chris?
Oh, I think the challenge with healthcare and life sciences is that the good news is we're all growing older. But the bad news is, as we grow older, lots more goes wrong with us. And it gets more complicated and more difficult to fix. So there is a limitless demand for better healthcare, better drugs.
Sure.
And the trouble is, society can only afford to pay a certain amount of GDP into that. So I think the opportunity we have with AI and with technology is that the more we can help the industry to become more efficient, more effective, to move faster, we can solve more of, or the industry can solve more healthcare issues so that we can lead happier, more fulfilling, productive lives. And the part that we play is to make the industry more efficient and effective in pursuit of that. Which certainly for me and for all of the folks here at Veeva, I think that's really our unifying passion. How can we play our part towards that important goal?